Okay, we're going to do a sound check. How's it sound? You don't want me to use the Marine Corps voice anymore? Thank you, Barrett, Robert's firstborn son, my brother, and Claudia, my good friend from my senior class at Omaha Central, for providing that beautiful music and instrumentals to begin. Dad started out as a music teacher. Music was always in our home. Oh, you wanted me to up?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, so it stops a little bit more. Okay, good. I'm going to go over here then. So Dad started out as a music teacher. I'm going to start out by thanking all of you for being here. This is a celebration. The music is setting the tone. Basically, we're going to take a journey through my father's life, his professional life and his personal life. You'll see it in pictures. You'll hear it in music. My dad loved jazz. He loved classical music. And he loved the choir.
And Lawrence Will.
And Lawrence Will. We'll get there. I am the youngest of 3 kids. My name is Todd Sherman. And I might look a little bit like my father. I may not. I'm not sure. Anyway, our hope that this is going to be a true celebration. We're not going to try to bring you to tears. We're going to try to make your feet tap. We're going to try to let you know what a great man he was and what a truly dedicated educator he was.
I just have to say he'll be the first one in tears.
That was Brenda. She will be introduced.
Could you be up just a little bit?
The mic.
Mic up a little bit. Okay, good. I want to make sure. Hey, let's use this as a classroom. So whenever you have a question, just raise your hand. Okay? I'm serious. We might as well do it that way. And if you don't understand something or you want something repeated, we'll do it that way too. If I had a chalkboard, maybe I'll do that later. Okay. So we're going to do this a little differently in that my co-host is my brother Henry. And Henry Cordes has been a part of the Sherman family since I was in 8th grade. He spent more time on the couch in the Sherman household than I have.
That's true.
So Henry is not only my good friend, but my whole family feels that he is the unofficial number 3 son. So I'm going to turn the mic over to Henry, and I'm going to remember to shut my mic off. And if you can't hear Henry, but tell him also to slow down, okay?
Yeah, he needs to slow down.
He needs to slow down. So we're going to try to do this in about an hour and a half. So you can think about what you're doing later. So we're going to try to give it our go, okay? Here you go, Henry.
Sound check. Can you guys hear me okay? You can't at all. Oh, because my microphone fell off. Well, dragging on the ground, you're not going to hear that at all.
I see you wore Central colors.
Of course. Of course. Can you hear me okay now?
No.
Really?
Turn it up.
Oh, it's off. You know what? I'm just going to go with this thing. I'm more comfortable with this anyway. Hey!
Well, thank you, Todd, or Parker, as perhaps some of you may know my oldest and dearest friend. And many of you also knew the public man that was Norbert Sherman, who served as a long-time principal leader in the Omaha Public Schools. In fact, we are very much standing in the house that Sherman built. And we're so grateful to OPS and its current leaders for making this space available to us. The staff has absolutely been over backwards for us this week, so we can't thank them enough. But as amazing an educator as Dr. Sherman was, you will see the private life and character of the man many knew Sherman was just as remarkable. You will hear that through the words and remembrances of some of those who knew him best. So we'll start with a blessing from Father Gil. The Monsignor served as a leader in Omaha's Catholic schools, and in that role he bonded with Sherman Shar through their shared passion for education and its ability to lift people up. Father?
Well, my blessing will be in two parts. First of all, an opening prayer, and then the final commendations, and in between, I will add a few words of my own to the occasion. So let us pray. My brothers and sisters, we believe that all the ties of friendship and affection which knit us as one throughout our lives do not unravel with death. Confident that God always remembers the good we have done and forgives our sins, let us pray, asking God to gather Norbert to himself. Lord our God, the death of our brother Norbert recalls our human condition and the brevity of our lives on earth. But for those who believe in your love, death is not the end, nor does it destroy the bonds that you forge in our lives. We share the faith of your Son's disciples and the hope of the children of God. Bring the light of Christ's resurrection to this time of testing and pain, as we pray for Norbert and those who love him through Christ our Lord. Amen. And now a few comments of my associations with Sherm through the years. Obviously, we both shared the love of education and schooling. He's serving as superintendent in schools, and especially in the 1980s when I was principal of Father Flanagan High School, and he was superintendent, we shared many occasions. One of the things that I was so grateful for was that he invited me to the table during the difficult years when the gangs started coming into Omaha, and lots of difficulties in schools with students, and we shared students back and forth at Flanagan High and the Omaha Public Schools. He invited me to come to the table with the other superintendents in the metro area. I was just one principal, but he included me in that group. I was ever so grateful. And, of course, he showed that expansive vision in so much of his life. He was here for all students, regardless of what school they went to. He was here for all the citizens of Omaha, serving them in a very dignified way, with much professionalism and great regard for the dignity of every person. He really was an expansive man. Another gift he gave to me was a wonderful memory of weddings. I've had lots of weddings in my life, but one of my favorite memories is Brenda's wedding, when in the middle of all of the holier part of the liturgy, when we would say the Our Father, well, just before that, Sherm sort of slipped to the back of the church, went up to the choir loft at St. John's Church at Creighton University, and sang the Our Father. And when he hit that high note, thine is the kingdom and the power, we could hardly keep from clapping and cheering, but we were still praying. So we absorbed it, and it was a wonderful moment. One of my favorite wedding memories of all my priesthood.
He wouldn't do it in the front, though, remember? He said, I have to sing it from the back. I can't do it in front of all these people.
Brenda says that he couldn't do it in front of the people. He had to do it in the back. But anyway, he did it. It was wonderful. And so I shared many occasions with him down through the years, and it was a great honor to be invited to say prayers for him at Josiah Harper Hospice House shortly before he died. And now let us commend this soul to God. Into your hands, Father of mercies, we commend our brother Norbert in the sure and certain hope that together with all who have died in Christ, he will rise with him on the last day. We give you thanks for the blessings which you bestowed upon Norbert in this life. They are signs to us of your goodness and of our fellowship with the saints in Christ. Merciful Lord, turn toward us and listen to our prayers. Open the gates of paradise to your servant, and help us to be made to comfort one another with assurances of faith, until we all meet in Christ and are with you and with our brother Norbert forever. We ask this through Christ our Lord. May the angels lead you into paradise. May the martyrs come to welcome you and take you to the holy city, the new and eternal Jerusalem.
Thank you, fathers, for such a great blessing and for your thoughts about my dad. I forgot about singing in the back of the church. That was a special time. Normally, right now, my brother would be coming up here because he was the religious one. He was the one that was devout and thoughtful. I was always the one that was playing in the dirt and doing science experiments. But we lost Robert in 2020. And so in Robert's place, I asked Cheryl to come up. And Robert and Cheryl met in graduate school at Regents University in Virginia. They were married in 1986. Right before I got my commission in the Marine Corps. Together, they raised 7 children. We lost my dear brother, but I think Cheryl will do a great job to think on what he would come up here to say and how he would handle this moment. So, Cheryl. We're going to do a lot of hugging up here, so we're not afraid to hug. The Shermans aren't.
Thanks. Okay, so I have this cool little notebook that says put in the pro and procrastinate because I'm going to slow down. Thank you. I can't talk fast when I get nervous. I'm from the Deep South. Hi, y'all. So Todd did ask me to share. But before that, he asked me to send him what I thought Robert might share. And then when I sent it to him, he said, I think you should share this. So I was like, okay, if I can speak at Robert's celebration of life service, I can certainly speak at his father's celebration of life service. So I thought for a little bit, and I thought, for the first thought I really had was, this is a little presumptuous, though. I was married to him for 34 years. And yes, I did know him, but what would he say? Or what would he think? I know it would have been very difficult. But this is what I wrote in here, because at Robert's service, when I shared, I had notes on my phone. And do you think I could find those notes when I actually got up to share? No. So I wrote it down this time. I believe Robert would have begun by sharing this quote from George Mueller, who was an amazing evangelist and missionary in Bristol during the 1800s. He was one of Robert's models for the way that we lived our life, serving overseas for 10 years in Central Asia. And in many newsletters Robert wrote, he often mentioned him. And also, Robert's model, of course, was his own father, with the great wisdom that he raised him with, to be a lover of learning and seeking and finding. The quote from George Mueller, and one of his favorites, is, "My business is with all my might to save my own generation. In doing so, I shall best serve the next generation, should the Lord Jesus tarry. The longer I live, the more I am enabled to realize that I have but one life to live on earth, and that this one life is but a brief life for sowing in comparison with eternity for reaping." I believe Robert would have said that his dad lovingly called Grandpa by my children, who then transitioned to Guido because of Brenda and Allie. So we just called him Grandpa Guido,
Whatever
whatever came
came out.
out. Yeah. But I think Robert would say, you know, in that quote, what Sherm really modeled, living his one life, was servanthood, by serving not only his generation, but the next and many more in his years as superintendent. And it's very evident in his sons, daughter, grandchildren, that he modeled integrity, a love for others, and committed a faithful, loving marriage to his sweet wife. That was so modeled to Robert. And we had that kind of a marriage also, just too short. Sherm also taught, I think, and said often, definitely worked hard and taught his children and others to do the same. I think Robert would have said how on some matters that are really unimportant now, that they just agreed to disagree. But that as his father, he loved him dearly. He would say, he's hard-headed, fierce, independent, and faithful. Near the end of Robert's life, Sherm, Grandpa, Guido, and Baba, Grandma, were emailing each other, and I happened to bring Robert's computer on this trip because my youngest son wants to go digging for treasures. So we just keep passing around this old Mac that you have to leave plugged in for it to work. And sometimes it still shuts down. But they were emailing about times to get to Zoom, and we were over in the Middle East. And I found this email where Sherm said, I just finished the book Zealot, The Life and Times of Jesus of Nazareth, written by Reza Aslan. He also wrote No God But God and several other religious books. 'Tis published in U.S. by Random House. This is exactly what Sherm wrote. Think you might enjoy. I'm about to begin reading it again. 'Twas a good book for me to read. Enjoyed it. When are you scheduled to fly eastward to UAE? Stay safe and healthy. Love ya, Mom and Dad. I like to imagine, and this is what I woke up with this morning, that the minute Grandpa Sherm, just like Robert, flew away, I saw Jesus with his arms open. And then all of a sudden, here's Robert. And he says, welcome home, Dad. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. We miss Robert, and of course, we miss Dad. Just a note, Dad sent me that same book, probably about the same time he sent Robert that book.
He didn't send it to me.
That was my sister Brenda. Do you have a question?
Use the microphone.
No, I'm gonna be the Marine Corps guy.
It's on.
Yeah. So, how do you hear me now? You can't hear me back there?
It's just not close enough to your mouth.
I've been demoted. Put it up. This? I'm going to let my wife do this. I know. going to say something about a book. Wait. Oh, yeah. Dad, the book was a Zelda. Yeah, and it's good. So, even for Barrett, what do you guys call me? You don't call me that? Okay.
Maybe Robert did one time.
Robert did? Okay. So, we're going to bring the music in a little bit after my daughter Haley gets up and reads a poem. The poem kind of sets the tone about life and about sacrifice and all the things that we can do with pain and all the things we can do with joy and how we balance those two things. My daughter Haley is the techno wizard back here. She's running things. She's 20 years old. She goes to college in Boston. She's a writer, illustrator, and a devourer of books. She eats them. Anyway, she is studying healthcare communications with an emphasis on women's issues. And the poem that she's going to read today is from The Painted Drum by Lois Eldridge. We've heard this before. It's great. Haley? You can.
Hello, everyone. I am the daughter, as I like to call the spawn.
You gotta hold it up.
Okay, I'll do this.
Perfect.
Okay. It is not a poem. It's an excerpt from a book.
Okay.
Turn it on.
It's on. I'm
There
just
you go.
nervous.
Yeah.
Okay. There is a beauty in the fragility of life, a sweetness to be savored in its fleeting moments of joy. For it is in the rawness of our experiences, both the joy and the sorrowful, that we truly come alive. We are not meant to shield ourselves from the pain of life, but to embrace it fully, to let it shape us, to teach us, to make us more human. So do not be afraid to love, to open your heart to the world, even if it means risking heartbreak. For the sweetness of love far outweighs the bitterness of loss. And when the inevitable pain comes, find solace in the beauty of the world around you, in the simple pleasures of life, in the memories of love and laughter. For even in the midst of sorrow, there is still beauty to be found.
Thank you.
Well done. It's hard. Thank you, Haley. I just wanted to mention that Allie, Brenda's daughter, and Haley were an integral part in organizing this event. The program that you have in front of you was designed by Haley and Allie, and without them, Henry and I would be just kind of swimming in the pool. So, thank you very much. I also wanted to mention Holly Zerst and her husband, Matt Ludke. Is that correct? Okay. They kind of came through in a pinch, and they're filming the event so we can send this event to our loved ones and family who were not able to come. So Holly and Matt, thank you very much. Allie and Haley, wow. I'm going to next read a passage from one of my mother and father's favorite people. I would like for Doug's son to come up and read this, but we didn't organize that, and I don't want to put him under any pressure. Dr. Wilson.
You can do it. Come on.
Dr. Doug Wilson is a retired retired science educator in the Lincoln Public Schools, from the Lincoln Public Schools. The Shermans, the Wilsons, and the Reeders families have been interwoven for a half century. My parents and the Wilsons share a wedding anniversary. It's the same date, the same day. Doug's son, Link, over there, and I went to school in England together, not at the same school, but at the same time, in 1984 and 85. We'd kept in touch for a pretty long time. Dr. Wilson has asked me to read these comments about his relationship with my father. I first met Sherm when interviewing to teach science in Ainsworth, where he was the high school principal in the early 1960s. My wife and I drove to Ainsworth on a blustery March day to meet Sherm and Superintendent Francis Hahn. Sherm gave us a tour of the school, and we talked about the various rooms and the hallways. It was obvious he was interested in my educational philosophies as I was his. In the end, we spent 2 enjoyable years together at Ainsworth. I met up with Sherm again years later at Northeast High School and Lincoln East, where he was serving as the assistant principal. Sherm was an excellent administrator, always trying to anticipate those what-if situations that occur in schools. He was tirelessly attentive to detail in trying to make certain that every student had great educational opportunities with as little disruption as possible. There were times, however, when even the best plans got derailed. I can still visualize our good mutual friend and former Ainsworth teacher, Bob Reeder, looking at Sherm and asking, "What now, Mr. Principal?" Over 63 years, the Shermans, Reeders, and Wilson families spent many times together. Sherm and Bob Reeder and I received our doctorates from UNL close together in time, and we could commiserate about the effort we spent jointly celebrating our mission accomplished. When it came to leadership, I was always appreciative of Sherm's willingness to reserve judgment in his evaluation of people and situations. He could be potentially critical of poor performance and spared few words in expressing his concerns. I experienced that myself. But his ability to define and communicate his exceptions helped teachers and administrators do their jobs better. A big part of Sherm's job was evaluating teachers' classroom observations. He was passionate about quality teaching as the key to quality education. The focus of his doctoral dissertation was how to define and assess quality teaching, and then find ways for skilled teachers to mentor those less experienced. Through promoting good teaching in every classroom throughout his career, he touched the lives of more students than I could ever count. Thank you, Doug. Henry?
Now I get to bring up the aforementioned Allie. Allie Taylor is Brenda's daughter, who followed in her grandfather's footsteps as an educator. In addition to being an outstanding middle school art teacher here in Nashville, Allie is a certified Pilates and yoga instructor, paints amazing girls, and is passionate about animals and the environment. And Allie would like to give us a granddaughter's perspective on her beloved Guido.
Oh. Hi. I don't think you have a problem hearing me. I'm typically loud without a microphone, so I'm not worried about that. I'm sharing a letter that I wrote wrote to Guido, so this will be in a perspective of me writing something to him. Dear Guido, thank you for the past, for taking a chance on yourself and trying something different than those before you. I remember an assignment in my 7th grade English class. We had to take a family story and turn it into a folk tale. I made it about the rain. That day you had your audition for your UNL music scholarship, and your father said you couldn't go unless it rained. I'm grateful for the rain. Funny enough, I spelled Omaha wrong on that assignment, and my English teacher was from Nebraska. Don't worry, I know how to spell it now. Some of my favorite childhood memories with you are reading serendipity books before bed because they all have a little lesson. Practicing my bass clarinet with you even though I hated it. I'm happy I have those memories with you. And all the sweet things like walking to the park, trying to teach me to fish or hit golf balls at the driving range, and getting over my fear to canter while riding a horse. The funniest childhood story that always brought laughter was when Baba and you came to stay with me while my mom was on a trip. You wanted me to walk to and from school each day as a 5-year-old. It wasn't that far, but I was so mad at you I walked on the opposite side of the street with my arms crossed, pouting all the way, and I shout, "But Guido, I don't want to walk to school." I walk the same street regularly now to clear my mind, and it all feels very full circle. I was born and raised in Tennessee, but you gave me pride in Nebraska. That was handed down from you to my mom, then to me. My mom loved watching the Cornhuskers games with you so much it'd make me jump when she'd yell at the TV. Thank you for your presence, for always encouraging me no matter what I was working at. You always took an interest in the camps I was going to and the hobbies I was trying out. I have a memory of drawing a still life of a wine bottle, and you were so impressed. I was in elementary school. And you said it was something I should pursue. Can you believe I'm currently headed into my 10th year of teaching middle school visual art? Early on in my career, you told me that how I treated the kids is what mattered. If I treated them fairly and with kindness, my program would grow. I love them so much, the kids. Someone asked me where the teacher in me came from, and I'm grateful you shared that gene with me. When I first started teaching, it was more about the content and the art, and now it's all about the kids, and I'm there for them. Also, while I'm at it, thank you for giving me the left-handed gene. It always made me feel closer to you because lefties are so rare. Thank you for the future. As I entered adulthood, our most recent talks were filled with discussions of preparing for retirement, with investments, and the importance of a home. Your home holds so many sweet memories for me, whether here in California, and the ability to host and make everyone feel at home was a gift, Baba, and you shared with all of us grandkids. The energy you inspired lives on in me and those you've mentored. I know that the lives I've impacted as an educator amounts to more than I could fathom, and I know that you touched an unimaginable amount of lives. Your reach had no limits. I hope that in my future I continue to make you proud. I never doubted you were proud of me because of the smirk on your face, the rosy in your cheeks, and the twinkle in your eye when I told you I decided to pursue my Bachelor of Science in Art Education. I know that you hated goodbyes. I remember waking up once and catching Baba and you sneaking out to the car to head home without saying goodbye. I don't know what woke me, but I wanted those extra goodbye hugs and tears before you left. So rather than saying goodbye, I'd like to share my favorite poem, The Author Unknown. I want you to know when things go wrong. I want you to know that all along, someone remembers, someone cares. Whatever the load, the burden shares. Whatever you do, or whatever they say, I want you to know that all the way, someone believes, although others may doubt. I want you to know. you to know when far apart, when I cannot speak to you heart to heart, whatever the rest may say or do, I want you to know that my faith is true. I want you to know that come what will, in the deepest vale, on the highest hill, that things I say to you now are so, and so forever, I want you to know. I want you to know in after years, in the time of worry or a time of tears, although the plains or the sea divide, I am still standing, your soul beside. The way is far and the voice is dumb. I cannot speak and I cannot come, and perhaps my love will not help you so. But if it will, well, I want you to know. I love you so much, Ito. Love your granddaughter, Allie. Can we play this song?
So, my first mistake was not letting my daughter hit Fanfare of the Common Man after she got done. But this is coming before Brenda. So, my dad loved brass, and Brenda is going to, take the stage next after the Fanfare of the Common Man. So, she played the clarinet, but Dad played everything. So, go ahead, Haley.
You sang that for us.
Brenda, There we go. Brenda, my mother, is an amazing artist, a collector of ephemera for her collages. She did all the things that you see on the table here, used her skill to collect everything to share with you. She's a creative chef and a foodie. Brenda enjoys the culinary arts. She's an amazing dog trainer, animal welfare advocate, and enjoys gardening with wildflowers. She has a special relationship with our next two contributors, Kathy Hoy and Winnie Callahan. So my mom's going to come up here and read some memories from them now. She's loud too, don't worry.
That is true. I'm just introducing Kathy, right?
You're going to introduce Kathy.
Okay, got it. Sorry, yeah. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. So Kathy Hoy taught with my dad at Arapahoe High School. She was the English teacher, and she had a friend named Phyllis Vandahar. And we were there in our early elementary school years. And they are two of our dearest memories, and Kathy especially. We loved her so much, and we called her Aunt Kathy. And when Todd and Robert and I were in high school, we to Colorado, and we had a ski trip with her, and it's one of my fondest memories. And I since went back and spent some time with them. I went and did an art workshop in Colorado, and so I got to see them again. But we didn't get to spend enough time. But she would flip through our lives on her way to see her family, and we've kept in touch over the years, so it's really good to see her here. She was, she followed and talked on me to make sure she told us, I told her she taught us how to downhill ski. You're still skiing, aren't you?
No.
No? I still picture you on those hills. She was the head of the English department at Arapahoe High School in Littleton, Colorado. There are some little emblems from Arapahoe that they donated to my dad when we came here to Omaha. And she's truly a member of our family. Her energy and laugh and love and literature influenced our appreciation for good storytelling, and she always corrected our grammar. This is our dear friend Kathy.
I'm Kathy Hoy Geip now because I married Earl Geip, who's with me today. Can you hear this?
I think you turned it off.
You just accidentally hit the button.
It's got to be green.
It's blinking.
Yeah. So where's the other one? Losing batteries.
Are we talking too much?
You got this.
Okay. When I was 30 years old, I was teaching English at Arapahoe High School when Sherm became the principal. He was always a Nebraskan, except for this brief interlude. I think it was about 5 years he was at Arapahoe. At that time, we were all young teachers, and we were excited when he came. He was as enthusiastic about teaching, about learning, about students as we were. And he always emphasized, whatever you do it for the best interest of students. Make that your focus. The second focus should be on working hard, and he set the example. He came to school long before any of us showed up. Our school started at 7:25, so it was a killer to get up that early and make it. But he was there. He was dressed up. He was smiling. He was ready to go, and he instilled that in the faculty so much that many of the faculty stayed there when he left in 1974, I think it was, to come back to Omaha or back to Nebraska. Now I forgot what the point I was going to make.
It happens to me all the time.
Yeah, me too. But one of the things he did, a memory that the faculty all has of him, we wanted to make our graduations better. They had become kind of a mockery among the students who would enjoy playing pranks during the serious graduation. So we felt we could dress it up if we had the faculty robe in their different hoods, showing their different master's degrees and so on. But paying for that was not in the budget. So the faculty, the drama teacher, and the music teacher decided that we would, as a faculty, put on little plays, kind of melodramas, with a song and dance routine afterwards, so that we could raise money to pay for this to improve the graduation. And Sherm was one of the actors in one of these melodramas. It was great because he participated with the faculty. It wasn't like, you go do it, I'll help you do it. And when we had classroom observations, when Sherm came into my English class and we met afterwards to discuss it, he would want to know not only what is it that you're teaching, but why are you teaching this? How will it benefit the students in your classroom? I have great memories of those discussions. They were wonderful. The class of 1975 at Arapahoe is having its 50th reunion this summer in about 2 weeks. And there are some, I know what the point was I wanted to say. So many of the faculty remained at Arapahoe for their whole careers. And they always remembered Sherm and always talked about the great influence he had on their lives, both professionally and personally. This year, or in 1975, the student body asked Sherm to come back for their graduation. This was a year after he had come to Nebraska, and to deliver the graduation speech, which he did. And they have all heard about his passing, and that has revived a lot of stories and wonderful thoughts and memories about Dr. Sherman. There was one teacher, a science teacher, who was planning to come today to this occasion, but instead, sadly, he himself passed away. But it was just that influence. For a short period of time, he was in the lives of that school, but they never forgot him. So we think about him today with affection and great respect. Thank you.
I would have thought I would have been the one to shut the mic off. I thought you would have been more better than me. So, oh, sorry, I'm not used to this thing. I'm going to read some thoughts from one of our dear friends, Winnie Callahan, and she, for years, worked at Omaha Public Schools in the capacity of an elementary school teacher, principal, and assistant to the superintendent, all during my dad's tenures. She was a trusted advisor, a problem solver with Sherm as they worked together when she served as the communications director for Omaha Public Schools. Fun fact, when we got here, she was my 6th grade teacher. So we've had a very good relationship over the years, and the summer after my 6th grade year, she tutored me in math before I went on to 7th grade. And we ate popcorn and played with her dog and went swimming. I don't know how much math I learned, but I had a good time. So these are her thoughts. She couldn't be here today. I think I need to read it. Yeah, so. My career has enabled me to travel and live in numerous places beyond Omaha, including North Carolina, Alabama, Florida, Colorado, and California. Thus, when it comes to school leaders across our nation, I've had a look at many. There was no one better than Sherm. His incredible leadership, openness to new ideas, eagerness to innovate, and empathy for students left a lasting impression on me. Sherm built partnerships with businesses and national organizations that he felt would help him grow the district in terms of character and academic rigor. Working with Union Pacific, Mutual of Omaha, and Microsoft, to mention a few. It wasn't long before many more organizations reached out to participate with the district. The roots of the OPS Adopt a School program. SHRM also relished bringing parents into the educational process at every level. New ideas from families were received with enthusiasm. As a result, parents became more engaged and active in their schools, their kids' schools. SHRM loved to make education enjoyable. When teaching our 4th and 5th grade kids about Omaha's role and how the West was settled, we convinced Union Pacific to offer steam engine tours across Nebraska. Students wrote essays on the experience, and when education was fun, it came alive. National publicity was easily gained as the word got around that this school district was different. SHRM was also quite involved in education on a national level. In 1 year, OPS hosted national meetings of both the Council of Great City Schools, representing the largest districts in the nation, and the National School Board Association. As we worked with the executive team to plan the social agenda for these meetings, I figured out that SHRM was discreetly pausing to privately request Shar's opinion. So I teased SHRM and suggested it would speed up the process if Shar just joined us. While it embarrassed him for a moment, Shar was there for our next meeting, and the planning was exceptional. Instead of a traditional dinner, we held it in the atrium of the Mutual of Omaha, with attendees getting to pet boa constrictors, monkeys, and other stars of Mutual Omaha's Wild Kingdom. And before I read this, there's a picture on the back collage of my mom and Winnie and my dad with a boa constrictor. So I thought that was funny. Oh, never mind, sorry. I guess I need eyes in the back of my head. Good job. So I thought when I read this last night, I was like, oh my gosh, yay. So anyway, along the way we had a lot of fun. He understood how to balance work with a round of golf or two. And while I loved to tease him, he also gave it back. Following the surgery for a vocal cord complication, I had to communicate during a meeting through written messages. By the end, SHRM was applauding the surgeon and wondering whether it was possible to make my verbal silence permanent. SHRM was clearly the best of the best. My own career was enriched by his example, and I'm glad we could share this celebration of life so SHRM could be remembered the way he lived, with fun and laughter. May he rest in peace.
collected words and thoughts as he related to me in a recent conversation. Sherm was really an inspirational leader in so many ways. He was dedicated to the support of students, staff, and the OPS community at large. He was always very positive, leading by example. The question he would always ask is, what's best for kids? That was the basis of every decision we made, and it was a critical part of his leadership. I was an art teacher at Central when he led the task force drafting the district's desegregation plan. Dr. Sherman was intent on making sure we did it right, and it worked very well. As superintendent, he was focused on the success of every student, wanted to make sure we met all the kids where they were. I got to know Sherman best after his retirement through playing golf. One memory I have was a golf tour we took in western Nebraska. We checked into a hotel in Kearney, and there was a piano in the foyer. He sat down and started playing, and all the people gathered around him. Sherman was just a strong role model in so many ways. In short, just a good, solid man. Now, I get to introduce two more of Sherman Sharp's grandchildren, Wendy and Derek. Robert and Cheryl's numbers 1 and number 7, respectively. Wendy, 5 and 7? I thought that's what I said. Wendy and her husband, Alex, live near New Orleans, and they're raising 2 kids, Zeke and Marcy. Derek lives near Greeley, Colorado, and is studying computer science. They will be co-reading Rudyard Kipling's allegorical and instructive poem, If, a poem which their grandfather read to their father and uncle often when they were young men.
Admittedly, I'm somewhat of a Neanderthal when it comes to poetry, so forgive me delivering in advance.
You got to talk louder.
If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you. If you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too. If you can wait and not be tired by waiting or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated. Don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good, nor talk too wise.
If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster, and treat those two impostors just the same, if you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to broken, and stoop and build them up with worn-out tools.
If you can make one heap of all your winnings, and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss, and lose and start again at your beginnings, and never breathe the word about your loss. If you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they are gone, and so hold on when there is nothing in you, except the will which says to them, hold on.
If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings, nor lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you, but none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distant run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and which is more, you'll be a man, my son.
Thank you, Wendy and Derek. We spelled Wendy's wrong, and the name wrong in the program. It's with an I, not a Y. My fault. We're going to take 5 as the Central High, or at least half the Central High Jazz Band is here. We have to recognize the fact that my dad loved jazz. We grew up with Dave Brubeck, Count Basie, and of course, Lawrence Welk. So we're going to play Take 5. And what makes it special, it's in 5/4 time. So during this time, if you don't want to listen to the whole Take 5, you can take 5 minutes if you need a break. We're going to go ahead and listen to this because Dad played this downstairs in the basement a lot when Robert and I were studying. Take 5.
What was I doing?
You were upstairs studying. speaker is Dr. George Garcia. Dr. Garcia is a distinguished educator and seasoned superintendent with a legacy of transformative leadership in public education. He served as superintendent of Tucson Unified School District, where he was recognized for his innovative approaches to multicultural and bilingual education, community engagement, and student achievement. We're really happy that Dr. Garcia is here. My dad and Dr. Garcia developed a deep respect and friendship with each other as superintendents. Dr. Garcia.
It's kind of ironic. The first album I ever bought was Take 5. And I still have it.
Wow, that's a full circle.
Mary and I, my wife Mary, met Char and Norbert, as I used to call him, in El Paso, Texas, in October of 1987. Sherm was 4 years into the superintendency in Omaha, and I was 4 months into my superintendency in Kansas City, Missouri. The picture with the boa constrictor, I think Mary and I were standing right behind Char, trying to stay away from that boa constrictor. We were at that conference. When we met at the Large City School Superintendent's Conference in El Paso, Texas. It was my first conference there, and Sherm had been there before. The Large City Superintendents was an interesting organization because it brought all of the superintendents of the large cities in the United States together. And we met twice a year. What was unique about it, and our favorite organization, was because spouses were welcome to come into the group. And when we met on a Thursday and Friday business meetings, the spouses together met and did a variety of things in the localities. The superintendent was in charge of hosting the meetings, and we met everywhere in the country, New York City, Chicago, all these different places. And on Friday night, we had a dinner and a dance. And on Saturday, we went out and toured together the area where we were at. Now, Char and Norbert loved to dance. A lot of the large city superintendents love to dance, and Mary and I love to dance. So from 87 to around 2010, when the organization ended, we met twice a year, and we danced till the end of the dance. Char and Norbert and another superintendent, Dr. McLeod, who was superintendent in El Paso, Texas, closed the dance. Everybody went to bed at 9 or 10 or 11, whenever, and we were the last ones on the floor. And that gave us a close relationship over the many years. Sherm had a real twisty kind of dance. I always used to kid him about it. He always wore his cowboy boots, and many times he wore his cowboy boots. And anyway, Sherm, during the course of time, was president of the Large City Superintendents, and I followed him as president of that organization. He was also president of the Council of Great City Schools. That organization lobbied Congress largely and the executive branch to get more funding for education or to support particular programs that we have in the large cities. Large cities being much different in their operation than rural communities and even suburban school districts. And so we all have unique needs. And Sherm was president of the Council of Great Cities a term or two. He was highly respected as an educator by all of us. And we all shared common objectives. Desegregation, I noticed, was big in Omaha. Well, desegregation was big in Kansas City when I was superintendent there. And our meetings were set very informally. We had no speakers. We just sat around the table, and any superintendent could bring up an issue. We're dealing with desegregation here. How are you dealing with it? How is it working? What are kinds of things that one can do to improve? And we shared. So it was a very collegial, very informal setting. Everybody was an expert. One superintendent always used to say, we all leave our egos outside the door when we go in because we are equal here and we all have something to say and something to teach and something to learn, a lot to learn. And Sherm was always a focus of a lot of our discussions in terms of his interpretation of things and what has been said is always, you knew that Sherm was always going to say what's best for kids is what we have to do. And the politics in large city superintendents are really intense. There are so many special interest groups that are involved. And so we all shared our visions and learned from each other as we participated with this group. Now the thing about Sherm and Mary and I was that we continued our friendships outside of the superintendent's group. When Sherm retired from Omaha, I was still superintendent in Tucson. And Sherm and my wife Mary was also a school superintendent and a member of the large city groups as well. Sherm and Mary were consultants with a consulting group after they retired. And then Sherm became interim superintendent in Davenport, Iowa. That's where Mary had started her career. And we shared, I remember when Robert passed, we lost a daughter ourselves right about the same time. So we shared a lot of these kinds of experiences and became very close friends. They came to Tucson several times. We went dancing wherever they were there and had some beautiful memories of that relationship. I have to say that one time when they were visiting, that picture here is at my 80th birthday party just 2 years ago. And we had a dance there right after the picture was taken. But they visited us at our house, and we had a swimming pool. And we were all having a nice time in the back porch. And Sherm said, I want to take a picture of the house from the back. And we live in the desert, so there was a lot of desert cacti out there. And so he's out there taking pictures. And all of a sudden we hear a splash because he went back and he fell in the pool. We just laughed and laughed. He took it so well. He just smiled and got out, and we continued our friendship and our relationship. So he was a wonderful man, a wonderful human being. And that's been said through all of the anecdotes that have been shared with you. He was there for kids. He was as honest as one could be, as trustworthy, a man of integrity, high moral values, and he was just a giant in education, particularly in the large city environment. and he loved the Omaha Public Schools. He always spoke about how much he loved being a member of this community. Thank you.
I'll mention this later a little bit more, but Dr. Garcia, my dad didn't know how to swim. I hope somebody threw him a line.
It's a shallow pool.
If there could be a Mr. Omaha, I think it might be my friend Henry. He's been here and been a part of this community his whole professional life. And I think most of you who live in this area or live in Nebraska have read his excellent journalism. For over four decades, he has been with the Omaha World Herald. Henry is known for his tenacious investigative reporting and narrative depth. He earned the title of number 3 son as he watched the Huskers with my mom and dad and frequented their sofa so many, many weekends. Henry has some great thoughts to share.
Well, first of all, I know Sharon would hate to hear me say this, but I absolutely despise golf. What a stupid game. It's so frustrating. I completely agree with Mark Twain. A round of golf is a good walk spoiled.
You're dismissed.
That said, I nonetheless played golf with Sherm almost every summer weekend over the last years of his life. In fact, as much as I hate golf, I love playing golf with Norbert Sherman. And that had everything to do with just the person that he was. I was just so lucky that more than 4 decades ago, this humble, caring man inserted himself into my life and became a second father to me. I first got to know Dr. Sherman, as I called him then, in 1979 when I was teammates with Todd on the Central High swimming team. Sherman would lead Jocelyn Castle, the district headquarters, to pick Todd up after our practice, and it wasn't long before Sherman started offering me rides home too, sparing me a long walk and a city bus ride home on a bitter winter night. Of course, none of us are surprised to hear that he would go the extra mile to help a kid out. It was just an extension of the commitment he had for every kid in the Omaha Public Schools. As Todd and I grew into good friends, I became part of the family. I was always welcome around the Sherman home. It was just the beginning of a lifetime of Husker football games in the family room, sing-alongs around the piano, potato harvest in the backyard, Sunday night tacos at his favorite Mexican restaurant, and yes, many rounds of golf. And it gave me a unique front row seat on the life of this extraordinary man. I still remember evenings at the Sherman home when the phone would ring. He always insisted on having his number in the phone book, and he would get calls from concerned parents and irate taxpayers alike. At times, the person on the other line was so worked up I could actually hear them. But Sherman was unflappable. He would listen respectfully, and he'd respond with a quiet voice of calm and reason that always seemed to resonate with the caller. Regardless of whether they agreed with him, they knew that he respected them and he cared. The only people Sherman had no tolerance for were those with big egos. He hated to deal with a lot of those, and he had a term for them. He called them butts, or sometimes big think those feelings were rooted in the fact that Sherm did not have an arrogant bone in his body. Even during a career in which he reached the highest stations in public education, he did not put himself above anyone. So as I was making my own way in the world, I came to rely on Sherm's advice and wise counsel. Whenever I was around, I heard the same battery of questions he directed to all the Sherman kids. So are you eating right? Are you getting a little exercise? Are you saving a little bit of money? I tried to emulate many of the secrets of Sherm's success, though I must say the whole getting up at 3:30 a.m. everyday thing was never going to happen. Sherm was also so supportive and encouraging as I went through my life and career. I swear Larry the Cable Guy owes Sherm royalties because decades before the comedian ever uttered his famous catchphrase, Sherm was always exhorting me to get her done. And as I got older and became a father myself, I delighted in seeing the influence he had on my own children. No matter their age, he engaged with them. He showed sincere interest in what was going on in their lives. And as we left, he always asked them to promise they would work hard in school. My relationship with the Shermans also gave me a window into the absolutely amazing couple that was Sherm and Char. More than any relationship I've seen in my life, they were a true extension of each other. When I was writing Sherm's newspaper obituary, I got a kick out of a story I found in the World Herald Archives in which Charlotte recounted when the two first met. They were at a party and he told a bad joke. He didn't impress me too much, Charlotte was quoted in the article saying. I think we now know how Sherm stayed so humble. But that beautiful, strong, and nurturing woman and that gentle man did fall in love, and their marriage was a true partnership. Whenever Sherm talked about anything he accomplished in his career, it was always in terms of we. As in he and Char. One of the best pieces of advice I ever got from Sherm was that you have to work at your marriage every day. And I'm sure Sherm worked hard at his, but he and Charlotte just made it look so easy. When we wrapped up our golf game, he never wanted to go grab a beer or go get a cup of coffee. He'd simply say it was time to go home to my honey. Theirs was a special life to this day. There are other things this man of simple taste loved. Mexican food, always consumed with a single beer poured over ice. Gardening, an extension of his unending patience and belief that you reap what you sow. Cornhusker football. Watching a game with Sherm was a spectacle in itself. He was so into it, but no matter how exciting, crazy, or absolutely maddening the games got, his emotions rarely showed beyond a satisfied smile or the occasional audible groan. And yes, Sherm loved golf, which was why I took up the game in his final years just to give him someone else to play with. But I must say, he put up with a lot to play with me. We played by my rules. I got 3 mulligans per hole, or more as needed. And if I hit a good tee shot, I would toss my club in the air and I'd break into a home run trot around the tee box. And you can imagine how those games went over with old Sherm. He teased me a lot about it. He may have even called me a butt a time or two, but we had fun. I was also lucky enough, speaking of golf, of the thousands of holes of golf he played in his life, I got to witness his first hole-in-one at age 85. When the ball rolled into the cup, I went nuts, jumping around and whooping like a crazy man. And of course, you know very well how Sherm reacted to it. I recall he managed a bit of a grin. He might have told me that he was pleased with the result, And while I wasn't there to see it, I'm very sure of this. He absolutely could not wait to get home and share the news with his honey. Rest in peace, Sherm. Thanks for your love and advice. And thanks for what you did for all the kids, including his mom.
Told you. I told you. Are the Kleenexes still up there?
Thanks, Henry. My father was a father to many young men, and many of my friends who frequented my mother and father's home enjoyed my mother's cookies and their advice. My roommate from Colorado State is here, Jason Stockwell. Well, my mom used to make her famous ginger cookies for Jason. So I have to talk louder. Yes, so ginger cookies, they're famous. And another friend of ours who frequented our home throughout the years was a gentleman named Dave Salzer. Dave ran cross country with Henry and I, and Dave Salzer and I served in the military at the same time. After Dave retired from the Navy as a logistics officer, he retired in California. So he would frequently see my mother and father in the desert of California at their retirement home. My mother and Dave's mother, Lillian, were the best of buds. Lillian was very special. She almost lived to be 100. Dave kind of wrote a poem about his interactions with my father that I thought I'd share with you. That's Dave back there. Hi, Dave. He has a cabin up in the Sierras, and he says he doesn't get there enough. So much of my lifelong connection to Sherm is curated and enduring in his enduring presence and his gaze. It's tactile for me and channels everything about life. He raised many sons, as it turns out, and to this day, as I will for many days, and all my days, I feel the kind scrutiny of his eyes on me. I share that. Taking in every subtlety of my words, my tone, my posture, my situation, and appearance. Considering it in totality and responding with a perfect nugget. Maybe a signature chuckle, barely a perceptible head shake, or an eye roll. Maybe a light pat of affirmation or a lingering touch to say, not quite there. If it was important, he'd always lead with questions. I loved those. It was like having the keys to a fast car being tossed into my lap. Those eyes of Sherm said to me, I have an observation for you when you're ready. My father used to say to us, I have an observation for you when you're ready. He was waiting for us to be a receptive audience. So I'm batting cleanup. I'm not very good at batting cleanup. Obviously, with Henry, his amazing sense of humor. But before I bat cleanup, I want to invite all of you over to the 30th Street flight deck after this. We're going to have drinks and a meal and an ability to talk. It's just right across the street, up one block, in St. Joseph's Hospital old building. So, not far away. You could walk there if you want, but it's pretty hot today. So before I start, you all have some homework to do. In the handout that you received today, there are two things that my father always read to us. My brother and I, as we were growing up. Brenda, did you read them to you? Uh-oh, I'm in trouble. So Rutgers Kipling's If, Derek and Wendy had already read. But on the back page, this is your homework. The Desiderata by Max Ehrman. I carried this in my helmet with me when I was in the Marine Corps. I folded it up and put it in my helmet, just in case I need to read something at the time when things were going crazy. Please read that. If you read that, you'll know my dad. You'll understand my father, and you'll understand how he viewed the world. So first, all speeches, according to American humorists, have about a 15-minute afterlife. So there's other things that are part of your homework. You got to remember at least one or two things about this next section that I'm about ready to share with you. Try to pick one, and then think about my dad as you move through the rest of the year. Dad lived by that 15-minute idea, an afterlife of a speech. He told me, be brief, make your point, summarize your point, and share it again. He also told me, make sure you tell a story, much like Henry does, that they'll never forget. He also said, ask people what's in it for them. Dad wore many hats. He was a musician, an athlete, a teacher, and of course a husband, a son, a father, and grandfather. He also was a superintendent and a teacher. So lots of hats. But the two hats he wore for me were, he was my hero and my North Star. He was also a really big Husker fan, as you heard from Henry. Those are other roles he played. But my dad wasn't perfect. You know, a lot of times in situations like this, you hear about how perfect someone is. So I'll let you know, like Henry has, my dad wasn't perfect. He was an athlete, but he was a pipe smoker. They don't go together very well. But everyone loved the smell of his pipe. He loved travel, but he hated traffic. And he hated waiting in lines. He loved being on time and being early. And he quickly got impatient. So much so that when we said we were going to leave, usually he was in the garage, sometimes honking on the horn at us, trying to get us into the car early so we could be early instead of on time. Dad didn't suffer fools gladly. He was internally intolerant of incompetence. And as Henry said, he especially didn't tolerate arrogance. But Dad also taught me that any strength taken to excess can become a weakness. Roger Federer said, it's not about the gift, it's about the grit. Dad was all about grit. Dad knew that grit was the expression of excellence through practice. So how can I properly honor my father and help all of you say goodbye to him? That's my job. That's my mission today, is to help you all love his life and say goodbye. how can I properly say thank you to my mom? My mom and father, my mother and father were a team, as Henry said. They were a great team, and it was an honor and a privilege to be their son. So thank you, all of you, all of my friends, and all the graduates of Central High School, all the alumni of OPS, all our family. Thank you for being here with us today to celebrate my father's life. He was small, but mighty, as Cheryl would say. Dad believed leadership and learning were expressed through music and the arts, through playing sports, and through the pursuit of truth. He always said, practice your key signature. Project and speak clearly. Refine your practice. Swing, wind up, and step onto the playing field or onto the stage without fear. But he always said, if you make mistakes, what can you learn from this? So, here's my story. I'm 12. We just moved to Omaha. It was my first summer here. And a couple of friends of mine decided to ride our bikes way out west Omaha. And I don't know if Wendy will let her daughter and son ride 20 miles away on their bicycles, but my mom and dad believed we were going to be back for dinner. Well, these three little married men were out about 20 miles away from Omaha, and we saw a cliff, and that was pretty interesting to us. So we climbed that cliff. Being the scientist that I am, I was really interested in physics. And you can think about what those three kids did on the top of that cliff in investigating the physics that cliff provided. Not 10 minutes after we were up on top of that hill, a sheriff saw us. We didn't know the sheriff saw us. And we expertly hid our bikes. The sheriff found them in about 5 minutes. Being the good citizens, young citizens that we were, all of our bikes had a nice little registration on them. What do you get from that registration? You get phone numbers. The sheriff called our parents, each one of them, and let us know what the little behavior things that we were doing on top of that adolescent bad judgment we were having. So, I'm not going to get too specific in the behavior, but the sheriff got on the loudspeaker and said, I have your bikes. Please come down off the cliff. That did it. We loved our bikes. We came down, and not only one sheriff was there, but three. One to castigate, and one to tell us that we should never do that again. And the third one to say, we're taking your bikes. Well, we listened, we cried, we said we'd never do it again. Whatever that was, Newton's Law and everything. And they gave us our bikes back. After the sheriffs left, we started riding home, and we thought we got off scot-free. But this was like on Monday or Tuesday after school got out. And when I got home that day, my dad said, do you have anything to tell me? I said, no, Dad. I just practiced my trumpet, and I did my 1 hour of reading, and I just got my chores done. What do you want to know? He said, you sure you don't have anything to tell me? No, that was on Monday. So every day, at the end of the day, my dad said, you don't have anything to tell me? Are you sure you don't have anything to tell me with Saturday? So on Sunday, after I delivered my papers, and we were were getting ready for the end of the day and the dinner, Mom's lovely Sunday dinner, my dad said, "What do you plan to do next week?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to go to swim team practice, the first one tomorrow morning, and I'm going to ride my bike, and I'm going to deliver my papers, and I have a couple of yards to mow. And after my paper route, I'm going to go get some ice cream with some friends." He said, "Do I have your attention?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "You're grounded for the rest of the summer." He said, "There's not going to be any ice cream for you. There's not going to be unsupervised experiences for you. All summer, you can go to swim team practice. You can deliver your papers. But you chose silence over honesty. And this is your punishment." And he was good for his word. My father was flexible, compassionate, and sometimes strict and demanding. He used the wisdom of an educator as a father who engaged us and drove his kids to success. So I want to tell you about 4 things. These are the 4 things that created my dad as my North Star, my hero. 1, drive. My dad, as Henry told you, got up before anybody else. He read leadership books and history books with his coffee in the morning and the Omaha World Herald. And a lot of times he got done with over half of his work day before anybody else got up. He sacrificed sleep to be at home, at work, and in life with more presence. He showed that discipline isn't punishment, it's a daily practice. An example of that was how he used his southpaw pitch when I was trying to be a catcher. He would drive that pitch, that fast pitch, into my knees, into the dirt, over and over again. Dad showed that grit there, and he wanted me to develop that grit. Again, Dad showed that discipline was a thoughtful daily practice. Drive was number 1. Charm is number 2. With his morning prep done, a lot of times he'd get to schools because he'd have his work already done, and he'd meet with janitors, cafeteria staff, and bus drivers before he ever met with principals or teachers, because he was curious. That charm said, look folks in the eye, ask them about their dreams, ask them about why they do what they do. Dad and Mom said to me from a very young age, treat everyone, no matter what their title or position in life, with dignity, respect, and compassion. I think that was one of the secrets of his leadership. He treated everyone with dignity. The number 3 is wisdom. When I was a Marine, my father would write me up 1 letter per week, and a lot of times he'd write 1 paragraph a morning. So with his morning coffee, he'd write a paragraph, and it would build into a letter, and I'd write it back once a week. My friend Grant Hambrick is here, and I think he remembers I put all those letters in a 3-ring notebook. I still have them. Actually, Mom has them, but I'm taking them home with me. So a 3-ring notebook in date order. So Dad and I, in our letters, talked about an exchange of what is the character of leadership. Dad thought the public schools were a sacred place. He believed moral character and intellectual curiosity went hand in hand, whether in the classroom, on the field, in the choir, or on the piano. My dad believed the public education and the free pursuit of knowledge was this country's best tradition, and I agree with him. wanted me to learn how to fail so I could learn how to get back up again. He said, "Son, you want to become a master at overcoming life's difficulties and hard moments." His leadership style was showing his strengths, but he also practiced something called cracking the door. What does cracking the door mean? Cracking the door means letting in enough of a view to show his vulnerabilities. Showing your vulnerabilities shows that you have humility, and when people follow you, they know that you're not perfect. Humility is number 4. He said, "Show up early, stay late." He told me real leadership meant doing hard work alongside others, whether it be grading papers, fixing the bleachers, staying late in the pep band to play the trombone till everybody's gone. My dad believed in showing up, and he did that for his family, his community, and his friends. These 4 qualities, drive, charm, wisdom, and humility, were my dad's cardinal directions, and they were the compass that he gave me as a young man. To conclude, my dad was an intellectual journeyman and a moral explorer. Robert helped him with that. Robert helped me with that. My dad knew life was bigger than any single performance, any educational speech, any effort on the sports field, or any performance in drama or in music. These were only windows into the world, but never the world itself. In our home, Beethoven and Brubeck, Lawrence Welk and Count Basie, Chopin and Harold Gardner all shared airspace with Big Red football, Husker volleyball, and of course, the St. Louis Cardinals baseball. Around Mom's dinner table, we debated religion, history, justice, and purpose. That blend of art, scholarship, and community was Dad's church of knowledge. Dad said, "Negative energy is wasted energy." He taught me to ask big questions. What does it mean to be human? How should we live? How do we build for the common good and show up to do the work? Thank you all for honoring my dad today and my mother. Thank you, Brenda, for being such a chronicler of this beautiful life of my father. Great job. No matter what you do or what you decide to do with your life or with the next day, show up, keep practicing, keep learning. That is the very enduring example of my father. So let your gifts shine with a little grit, and let your own drive, charm, wisdom, and humility show through. Thank you all. And we'd like to end with a little film of my father and one of his favorite songs that he used to play on the piano. Please come and join us across the street at the flight deck. I'd love to talk to you all more